Joined by the man himself, Mr. Chris Barrie, here on ME1 TV. Chris, classic cars. Tell me what you're driving.
Well, the greatest vehicle, of course, that ever rolled over the planet, the Land Rover Defender, which, of course, is going out of production, very sadly, in 2015, I believe. But yeah, no, that's kind of my everyday car. That shows you how much I love. You've got to love that to make it your everyday car. But yeah, post-war Jaguars, basically post-war British sports and saloon cars would fit the bill for me. You know, stuff BMC, Triumph, the Triumph TR range.
And it's a shame that British car makers, these classic car makers, are not making the cars for the future. Am I right? Do you agree with me?
Yeah, it is a shame. It is a shame. Obviously, there are cars being made in Britain, but to me, they're foreign cars being made in Britain. And yeah, it's a shame that all those great names that, you know, if they were given the chance with a bit of taxpayers' money, you know, some people say they were given the chance, but I think if they were given the chance 21st century style, then, you know, because we certainly have all the talent to make, you know, good cars for this century and for the future, you know, because the old cars are absolutely fantastic.
I mean, I've never really, I mean, apart from an E-Type Jag, it's the only one that I've actually sat in. I haven't sat in any other cars, really. And I'm not a great, you know, but I always like watching classic TV shows because of the cars as well. Obviously, the cars mean a lot to the shows. And, you know, these days, there's not a TV show that you can remember where the cars one of the stars.
That's right, yeah. They're very distinctive, and they sort of, you know, mark time in a sense, those old cars. But, you know, the thing about them for me is they're simple. You know, there's no ECUs and no sort of, you know, you can get at the engine, you know, you open the bonnet and there's everything, you know, no complications.
No ABS pipes going down, costing me £500 this afternoon, which is doing my head in. But hey, you know, that's the thing. Talking of vehicles and shows, Red Dwarf, channels like Dave are very brave to pick it up. It's a shame that the BBC couldn't back you guys the way they should have done. Do you agree with that?
Yes, it was very strange to hear that a show that really could do no wrong for the BBC was suddenly a show that the BBC said, no, we're quite happy not to do it. But then, you know, it wouldn't be the first strange decision by the BBC, would it?
No, definitely. Over the last couple of years, we've had a lot of strange decisions by them, but hey, you know.
But, you know, just to add to that, obviously, on Dave is a natural home for Red Dwarf, to be honest. Look at all the other shows on Dave, QI and Buzzcocks and Top Gear, of course. You know, I think Red Dwarf sits in there quite nicely.
It definitely does. I mean, you started your career that I knew of, Spitting Image, and the voices. How would you reckon the public's reaction to it today if it was being made? I mean, it's 30 years since the show. Is there enough characters to do a Spitting Image?
No, I was talking about this to someone earlier, and I think Spitting Image in the 21st century, 2014, in, you know, this time, this era we're in now, kind of wouldn't work because the world is too crazy. You know, the world is almost self-writing its script. I mean, every day we hear of yet another crazy scheme or crazy regulation, or, you know, and Spitting Image, you know, script writers probably struggle to come up with all that, you know.
The world's gone mad.
The world has gone slightly mad. Plus, of course, you know, I think, you know, whether legally we could sort of get away with the things we you know, the equivalent issues that we got away with back in the 80s, I'm not sure. So it's very much an 80s thing. It was of its time. And
John Lloyd was very brave to go on with it, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, John Lloyd was genius producer. You know, great fun to work with him.
I've worked with John before, and he is amazing. You know, his vision, his sight to the world is amazing. You know,
very talented man, and it was, for me, it's almost sort of an apprenticeship in how to sort of, you know, create good comedy. You know, him and of course Paul Jackson in the early days of Red Dwarf.
What do you think about British comedy today? Is there anything on British TV that makes you chuckle?
I think, again, you can almost divide it from, you know, from the late 90s, the kind of world changed into what we have now. And British comedy kind of took a bit of a back seat, really, and we had lots of fly-on-the-wall documentary reality shows. exactly cooking, travel, DIY, all these things.
I've got no more spit left.
Exactly. No, I think you're just right to do that. So British comedy took a back seat, but fortunately Ricky Gervais kept us chuckling through that era, that time, and most sort of standard comedies now, I'm afraid I can't really get completely wild about, to be honest. But the show that Ricky Gervais produced, what's he called? Derek. Well, Derek, that's him. The Office, I think, was the best thing he did. But the guy who goes off all around the world and
Idiot Abroad.
An Idiot Abroad.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Very. I mean, Ricky's an amazing talent, and it's a shame that the people are not investing in talent like that. I mean, the likes of yourself and great comedy actors that we grew up like British Empire and stuff like that. Do you think that nobody's got the balls to take comedy where it should be going these days?
I think there is an element of that. You see on things like the stand-up show and live at the Apollo and stuff, comedians who are pretty good. They've always got great comic talent, but they're sort of not going far enough, And I think you're right. It's a bit like what we said about Spitting Image. There's, people are a bit scared to say certain things in modern society.
It's a shame. Now I know you're busy today, and I'm going to leave you with one more question. If you had the opportunity to drive your favourite car anywhere for a day, what car would it be, and where would you like to drive to?
Sort of my favourite car or a fantasy car?
Let's all talk fantasies. At our age, it's all we've got left.
Well, speak for yourself. No, look, it's not very. It seemed very tame, really, for people you may have asked the question before. But yeah, a sort of blower Bentley in a relatively deserted part of northern Scotland. That'll be good enough for me. Pure class, pure taste, and coming from this man, what else can I expect? Mr. Chris Barrie, thanks for joining us today on ME1 TV. Pleasure, sir. Anytime.